Alrighty folks, I believe this is the 26th psychological lecture, and this is a video I've been wanting to make for a really long time. Basically is going to answer all of your questions specifically with individual problems you are all facing psychologically. So the biggest thing I want you guys to focus on in this lecture is essentially sitting down in a quiet area, opening a notebook or Google Docs, because I'm going to be going over exactly step by step how you are going to essentially solve all of your individual problems, right? Whether it be overtrading, overleveraging, greed, fear, what your solutions are, your specific rule book, right? So the first thing and the first and foremost thing I want you to realize is you need a very strict set of rules, right? Coming into number one, majority of your guys' problems, right? Is you typically can't ever see success in day trading because you don't have a very direct form of rules to follow, right? So majority of you don't have a mapped out blueprint on exactly what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do. And this is exactly why you tend to go all over the place. Since the dawn of human history, you need to realize when uncertainty is present, you are like a nomad. You're like in no man's land. You're just everywhere. So when you have any sense of uncertainty, whether you are allowed or not allowed to do something, everyone starts losing their mind, right? If you watch any apocalyptic movie where shit just goes crazy, it's typically the root cause of just all law and form of law just going all over the place, right? And this correlates back into day trading because specifically you lose your mind while trying to trade because of the fact that you are uncertain of what you are and are not allowed to do. Like, for example, you guys watch like all those crazy tsunami, hurricane movies, and everyone just turns into Armageddon simply because of the fact of uncertainty, right? And this is really applicable to anything, right? Anything in life, when there's a lot and high amounts of uncertainty, you tend to lose your mind, go batshit crazy, lose money, make money, just all over the place. And that's not what profitable trading looks like. Profitable trading looks like very, very specific set of rules, specifically of what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do. So essentially, coming into number one, rules, right? So it's very important to have a very subset of rules. At the end of this video, I'm going to basically map out essentially what your rules should look like. And I'm going to give you guys some pointers of what I tell specifically my Discord members. But there's that set of rules. And then there's also rules that I wanted to talk about in funded accounts, because a lot of you trade funded accounts. And a lot of people ask me, what is the best funded company to use, right? Specifically, what's the best rules? Who has the best rules? What's the best opportunity, bang for buck wise? And I only will push Take Profit Trader. Take Profit Trader is genuinely the greatest firm on the planet, hands down. The rules is you just simply can't trade 1 minute before and 1 minute after any extremely high impact news event. Other than that, you get same day payouts. I'll leave the link in the description, and you guys can use code in the circle at checkout. And specifically, you get 30% off evaluation fees, right? So evaluation costs. You also get no activation fees. So when you go to activate the account, there's no activation fee. And on top of that, you get same day payouts. Now, the reason why I talk about same day payouts being such an important thing is because of the fact that funded companies specifically are built out for you to lose. So they have rules, right, for you to lose. So for example, a lot of people trade Top Step, or a lot of people trade My Funded Futures, or any of these firms specifically. And the problem that I have with these firms is they have rules set out to get a payout that can lead you to go on tilt or think negatively. For example, Top Step's minimum day, $200 a day for 5 days, can lead you to go down the bad, wrong road because of the fact you will psychologically be thinking, I need to make that $200 a day in order to get a payout. So I need to trade today in order to get that payout tomorrow. Or, I'm going to get that payout tomorrow. So let me focus my energy and effort on making that $200. When trading, right, is never about how much money I can make. It's when is my trading opportunity going to present itself? So that freedom aspect specifically with rules during funded accounts and funded companies is so critical and important for you to strive and prosper as a day trader. And also the fact of same day payouts, bro. Like, how are you going to argue same day payouts? It's like same day payouts is genuinely the greatest thing on the planet. It's basically like trading a live account. So that's number one, coming into rules, right? Things you need to keep in mind. The second problem I see hands down probably so much and very, very often is overtrading, right? And specifically, what are your solutions to overtrading? The first and foremost thing, coming back into uncertainty. a lot of people are uncertain about the outcome, right? A lot of people are uncertain about trading as a whole. So what can protect yourself specifically from overtrading? Having specific rules that allow you to execute on a specific basis, right? So for example, my strategy only allows me to trade 2 times per day because I'm looking for very specific things, right? That I teach in my Discord, for example, 2 times a day, right? So that being the case, since I've had that identified, I only will trade 2 times a day. That's all my strategy permits and allows me to. The problem with you guys is you guys don't have a very specific set of rules specifically for how many times you will trade. And that is why, in the first place, you end up overtrading. So for example, I like to use this analogy. It's like if there was no law enforcement in the world, why on God's green earth would everyone not commit crime? Everyone would just commit crime, right? So think about identifying how many trades you want to take a day as law enforcement to crime, right? Which would be overtrading. You kind of get what I'm saying here? You need to be able to identify how many trades you are permitted to take in order to solve overtrading, because the uncertainty aspect specifically doesn't give you any limitation. So if you don't have a specific, basically, rule book on how many things you can do or how many trades you can take in a day, you will go on overtrading mode and just go blow your account because you don't know when the cutoff is. You don't know where the line in the sand is. So I would say, based off of your strategy, how many opportunities it presents itself every single day, base that off of how many trades you're allowed to take in a day. Ideally, we want to be in that 1 to 2 ballpark range. Anything over that is it's just kind of cooked. I'm not going to lie to you guys, just because of the fact of if you are taking more than 2 executions a day, the market specifically only really provides 2, maybe maximum 3 really probable, high risk to reward trading setups. So that being the case, ideally we want to be in that 1 to 2 ballpark range, right? So that's for overtrading. And also, you need to realize with all of these individual problems why you are doing it in the first place. So typically, overtrading is off of the basis of you trying to rush the outcome. You, as the individual, try to rush the outcome and speed up the process. Oh, I want to get funded. I want to get that payout so I can quit my job. Or I need to pay my bills this month, so I need to get funded to get a payout to be able to pay my rent this week. Or, oh, I need to do this or that or that. When trading and profitable trading is never tying trading to the outcome and being able to do things based off of the outcome. So anytime you catch yourself psychologically thinking, I need to take a trade because of the fact of X, Y, and Z materialistic thing, that is a very big no-go. And the second that you do that is when you will lose, right? The second that you overtrade simply because of the fact that you need to get some form of materialism, whether that be pay your rent, or you want to quit your job, or your mom's struggling to pay bills, you want to give her a couple $1,000. You want to do all these individual things. When you start psychologically programming your brain to think about these things while you trade, it's going to lead you down overtrading. So my best piece of advice for overtrading is to never, ever, ever think psychologically about the outcome and pairing it with materialism, right? Think about personalized, right? Anytime I'm talking about an individual problem, I want you all to personalize specifically what you do, right? And then on a piece of paper, right, you want to write down specifically what your solution to that thing is. So for example, let's say I was watching this video right now. I would say, and let's just say random hypothetical, let's just say I struggle with overtrading because I want to quit my job. I would write down on a piece of paper, okay, I struggle with overtrading simply because of the fact that I want to leave my job, but I need to realize if I am, right, going to try to leave my job, it's not by prioritizing leaving my job, you know? And I want to say everything in trading is really vice versa. It's like opposites. When you start thinking about the money a lot in trading, which typically that's what a lot of people naturally do, is when everything goes bad. When you start thinking about the outcomes so much in trading is when everything goes bad. The way that the market moves itself is in opposite polar directions. If something is going up a lot, typically we'll expect it to continue going up. But in trading, right, if something's going up a lot, typically we'll look for the opposite because that's a sense of manipulation. So I want to say like almost everything in terms of the way that you think has to be opposite and polar opposites in order to completely control your mind. So for example, if you are always thinking about the aspect of, oh, I want to quit my job, you'll never be able to quit your job, specifically because you are prioritizing that so much in the charts, which then leads you down to over leveraging, over trading, blowing accounts, being sad, having depression, all of those things. So you, please, for the love of God, my best piece of advice is not to think about the outcome and not to prioritize trying to get materialism out of trading. Because at the end of the day, you need to have a sense of understanding that trading as a whole, right, is dependent on how good you are based on how good you are at trading, not by how much money you make. There are traders out there that are way worse than me, right? Way worse of a trader than me that have made more money than me, right? So it's not a direct correlation. You need to realize that when you tie the outcome of the money aspect to trading, you end up, right, losing. And you end up specifically losing in all aspects of your life. You end up blowing accounts, you end up having more depression, you end up over trading, and all of these different individual problems come out when you prioritize the materialism and the outcome. Trading is a game of how good am I at trading? And depending on how good you are at trading specifically, is dependent on how much money you'll make, right? It's not how much money can I make and how can I make more money in trading. It's how do I become a better trader? And then money is just a byproduct, right? So that's for over trading. The third problem is going to be over leveraging, right? So like I mentioned, in all of these individual problems, you need to realize why you are specifically doing it. Right? What are the things causing you to over leverage? Over trading and over leveraging are very, very similar characteristics wise. The majority of people over leverage simply because of the fact that they're tying a timeline on when they want to accomplish, right? So for example, you'll say to yourself, I need to pass this funded account, or I want to pass this funded account by Friday, right? So you'll just say that to yourself internally. Thursday comes along, you're nowhere near passing the funded account, and you internally feel that sensation and urge to over leverage, which then causes you to blowing the account, right? So like I mentioned with over trading, you can never, ever, 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 ever tie trading to materialism or outcome basing off of trading. If you tell yourself and you set a timeline specifically on when you want to accomplish something in trading, you then, and that leads you down over trading and over leveraging. You feel the sensation of, I told myself something, I need to get it done, right? And that's for the majority of people, right? You all tell yourself and put timelines on when you want to accomplish specific things in trading, and that leads you down to over leveraging. So the biggest piece of advice I can give you specifically for over leveraging is stop tying trading on a timeline basis. I'm going to get a payout by X day, or I need this amount of payouts by X time. I used to do this with myself constantly, and I didn't realize the moment in which I just stopped caring about when things were going to happen and why they were going to happen, and I just allowed my trading system to play out and act like a robot, is when I saw the most amount of progression that I've ever seen in my life. Trading is a game of how can you be as emotionless as possible. A lot of people say, oh, you can't trade with emotions, you can't trade with emotions. But it's deeper than that, because everyone's pretty stupid in the trading space, right? They can't explain these things. And what I'm telling you here right now is the reason why majority over leverage is specifically because of the fact that you're setting a timeline on when you want to accomplish things, right? And I know a lot of you guys will set timelines on when you want to accomplish things as a sense of motivation, because that's what human beings naturally do. I want to get X amount of payouts by X day, so you have something to work towards. But the problem is in trading specifically, and only in trading, you cannot do that, because then it leads you down rushing and overstimulating and overtrading and over leveraging, and all these negative issues and problems come out of you. So you need to stop doing that. Stop setting timelines specifically on when you want to accomplish things. So coming into the fourth problem, we're going to have greed, right? So how do we solve greed, and what are the things tying us back into greed, right? So greed is a very interesting one psychologically. Greed as a whole has a bunch of different individual problems inside of it, right? So reasonings for greed. So you need to identify what is your individual reason for greed. Why is it that you are a greedy person, right? Majority of the times, it's because of the fact that you've come from poverty, right? I would say the people with the brokest financial situation, right? Or the people that have always been greedy outside of trading tend to be greedy inside of trading. So if you have gone through, I want to say, extreme poverty in your life, for example, your family was on food stamps and you lived in low income housing and things like this, that greed aspect will come out of you. And the problem with that is, specifically, is if you never let go of that aspect and you always have that greedy mindset, you'll never be able to scale in trading. Because at certain times, I've been up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and I told myself I can't take profit yet. And the greedy version of myself previously and the unprofitable version of myself would tell myself, oh, let me close the position. Let me close this position. And even now in my current stage, even making as much money as I am now, I still struggle with greed. You know, greed is one of those really hard ones to knock off. And greed is also tied back into the aspect of being wrong, right? So if you have an inflated ego, you tend to be a more greedy person, right? And the reason on why that is because greed is derived off of ego. And being wrong would hurt your ego. So you always want to be right, and you're chasing always being right, which then leads you to be greedy. So you want to close that position as soon as possible so you can tell yourself, yeah, I was right. I was right about this trade. When in reality, you still would have been right about the trade if you closed at the take profit level that you had marked out. So you need to recognize what is the individual reason why I'm being greedy. Is it I came from extreme poverty? Is it my ego? Is it specifically I want to chase perfectionism? Right? What is it? Now, coming into number 5, we're going to have fear. So why are people afraid? The biggest reason why majority of people are afraid and fearful in trading is simply because of the fact that they are scared in their own life outside of trading. They have no sense of confidence in themselves. And where fear is solvable is by building external disciplinary actions outside of trading that lead you to have extreme confidence. So what that looks like is go get punched in the face. Go pick up a combat sport that allows you to completely remove fear outside of your life, which then will correlate specifically inside of your life, right? Typically, fear is the lack of confidence, right? There's equal and opposite forces with anything in life. So fear is the lack of confidence. How do we build confidence in our lives? We build confidence in our lives by getting a better physique, dressing better, looking better, smelling better, talking to more girls, for example, that build your confidence, right? Doing things and actions that will allow you to build confidence overall in your life. So it's not only in trading. The biggest thing I want you guys to realize is majority of your problems you need to solve outside of trading, and then they'll correlate directly inside of trading. So for example, fear inside of trading is typically lack of confidence in your life as a whole. So what you need to do to combat fear is to build confidence outside of trading, and then it directly will correlate inside of trading. If you are scared to take an execution, you need to identify why you are. Typically, majority of my students that are fearful, I immediately identify why they are fearful, because they'll have like an anime profile picture, and I just know they've never really went out or had a social life or had a lot of friends and stuff like that. Immediately, I'll just know for the most part, right? I'm not categorizing all anime watchers like this, but I'm telling you guys specifically fear, and majority of the students I have in my Discord that send me executions and say, I got scared of this trade. I then will look at the profile picture, look at the way that they talk, look at the way that they act, and it's all derived off of confidence, right? So you need to build confidence outside of trading, and then it directly will correlate inside of trading. So what that looks like I mentioned, going to the gym, better your diet, looking better, right? Smelling better, getting a better haircut, dressing nicer, picking up a combat sport, doing the things you know you should be doing will completely remove the fear aspect. Maybe there's that girl you wanted to talk to for such a long time and you just haven't talked to her. And for my female audience, it's the opposite. Maybe there's that dude that you've always wanted, right? Go text him. Do something that puts you out of your comfort zone and makes you a little bit on the edge and afraid, because what you don't realize is all of your problems are deeply rooted psychologically, right? When people say psychology and trading, it's the way that your brain thinks. So it directly correlates with every aspect of your life. You need to think about these things, why they are happening. You need to be able to reflect critically and say, why am I overtrading? Why am I overleveraging? Why do I have greed? Why do I have fear? Right? So you need to individualize everything. And the last one that I don't have written down here, but I think it's really important to talk about because a lot of my members are going through this and I'm basically fixing them, is perfectionism, right? A lot of my guys that watch, if you guys are on TikTok, right, you guys watch my YouTube and you guys are on TikTok, you see the new age of TikTok traders bottom ticking and top ticking, and they're chasing perfectionism. And you try to replicate that same exact thing. And what ends up happening when you do that is you are setting yourself back so many times, because of the fact that you need to realize the most paid traders and the traders that make the most amount of money have a relatively lower win rate. I think my win rate is like 60-70%, which is relatively high, but there are traders out there that are making so much more money than me that are at a 30% win rate. So the problem that I have is when people try to chase perfectionism in trading, you need to realize a trading strategy has a X amount of win rate, right? There's also, and majority of people don't talk about this, a losing rate, right? What percentage of trades are you going to lose individually? So for example, let's say you have a 50% win rate. That means you have a 50% losing rate as well. There's equal and opposite forces for everything in this world. If you win 50% of the time, you are also going to lose 50% of the time. Now, the people that are able to succeed at a faster rate are people with less of an ego, because when you lose, it hurts your ego internally. I have to be right, or I need to be right, which then leads you down, right? Overtrading, overleveraging, having greed, having fear, not following your rules because of your ego, right? Your ego is constantly trying to chase perfectionism in every aspect of trading, and this is why a majority of you fail. You need to realize it is okay to lose in trading. I am bound and destined to have losing trades. There is nothing wrong with having a losing trade. What differentiates you being an unprofitable trader versus the profitable version of yourself is realizing, okay, if I have a 50% win rate, I have a also 50% losing rate. So what am I going to do after I lose? What are the actions I'm going to take after I lose? Now, everything you see here, overtrading, overleveraging, greed, and fear, is all of the things you need to remove in order to properly do the 50% losing rate. Because trading is very easy. The problem that everyone has in trading is not being able to control all of these problems, which then leads you down blowing funded accounts, overtrading, overleveraging, greed, fear, chasing perfectionism, having an ego, all of the negative baggage that comes with trading. So trading specifically in terms of profitability is a game of how long it's going to take you to delete your ego, remove overtrading, remove overleveraging, remove greed, remove fear, and scale from there. And that's it. That's all that trading is. And the moment that you are able to do all of these things is the moment you will start making the most amount of money that you have ever made in your life. But specifically, like a lot of people say, I've talked about this before, a lot of people say there's no way you can calculate how long it's going to take for someone to become profitable. I completely disagree. I know majority of the times how long it's going to take some of my individual members, right, depending on how long I talk to them for. So if I talk to my member for a really long time, which for all my members I really talk to them for a long time, I'm able to gauge specifically how long it's going to take them to become profitable. Simply because of the fact of all of these individual problems, I gauge specifically off their ego. How much of an ego do they have? Because a lot of people will say, like, for example, I had to check one of my members the other day. I love you if you're watching this. There's nothing wrong with you, and we're working on building you. But one of my members the other day said, I did everything perfect, but I still lost. And then he blew his account. And I told him, if you were to do everything perfect, you wouldn't have blown your account. Because if you did everything perfect, you would have accepted the loss, moved on, journaled, backtested, and forward tested after. But you didn't do everything perfectly. And that is exactly why you're failing, because your ego is telling you you are doing everything perfectly. Right? You see what I just said there? Your ego is telling you that you are doing everything perfectly. So a lot of people will come to me and say, hey, Salman, like, I don't know if I should join your Discord, or I don't know if I should join your mentorship. I'm starting to kind of see a little bit of goodness out of my strategy. I'm starting to see a little bit of consistency. Your ego is telling you that, right? You have an extreme biased opinion. And the biggest thing I'll gauge and tell you guys off of if you guys have an ego or you don't have an ego is gauging your real life and real world accomplishments. What have you accomplished inside of trading? And if it isn't to a point that makes you ecstatic and happy, you need to learn from other people that are ecstatic and happy, right? Ecstatic. Like, for example, I wake up every day and I'm ecstatic because I know majority of the times I'm going to make money. And even if I don't, I'm going to guaranteed follow my rules. And I know I'm going to coach thousands of people and help thousands of people. So I have it figured out to some aspect. And what I'm telling you here now is I will help you. And all you need to do is just try and take some sense of risk. But if you can't do that, I can't help you, right? There's only so many free content videos that you guys can consume. And the biggest thing I'll tell you guys is if someone has something of true intrinsic value, they want to get compensated for it, right? I wish I could just openly talk about my strategy because it's so good on YouTube. But the problem is I worked so hard to build that strategy. So I want to get compensated for all of that stress and psychological baggage that I had to go through to make that strategy. And this is like answering a question a lot of people ask me, like, if you make all this money off trading, why do you sell a course? Well, first off, I can make a lot of money also on the side and be able to change people's lives actively. A member just the other day hit a $32,000 a month. And I don't even do one-on-one coaching. I don't do any of those things, right? A member hit a $32,000 a month just listening to the words that I had to say. And this is what I'm saying is like, if I can get paid a lot of money, on top of that, change people's lives for eternity, $32,000 in a month can actively change someone's lives forever. And also keep in mind, he started trading 30 days ago. So what I'm saying is like, you need to realize your ego is telling you, I don't need to learn from anyone. I don't need to do anything. If your thought process led you to where you are today, you need to reflect and ask yourself, are you happy with where you are financially today? And if the answer is no, my friend, you have two options. Live the same exact existence that you have been for the last couple of years of your life, or change and learn from other people. That's your simple solution. I will help you. I will guide you throughout your entire journey until you are profitable. I tell my members, I don't even want you guys staying in for that long of a time. Once you're profitable and you got it figured out, bounce out. You don't need to stay in here. And that's ideally what I want to do. I kind of want to build like a build and release Discord. Because specifically, I know the individual problems, how fast they're solvable for you guys. And my Discord, proof, you guys can go click any one of my trade breakdown videos. I show proof of what the Discord did that individual day. Literally go on any one of the videos. You guys will see all the payouts, all the past funded accounts. No one shows it like me. So that's all I wanted to say specifically is basically how to solve all of your problems in day trading. It's probably going to be the YouTube title. And if you guys made it to the end of this lecture, I would love to hear your guys' insights, if this helped you or not. So leave a comment below, specifically if this video helped, if it helped any aspect of your life, if it helped any individual problems you are facing. And last but not least, I forgot to obviously mention what your rules are specifically. So the blueprint to all of these things is individualizing all these problems. What, out of all these problems I mentioned, what do you struggle with? And then from there, you need to write down the individual reason why you struggle with that thing. If, for example, let's say I overtraded. I overtraded because I simply want to chase the outcome so much. You need to write that down on a piece of paper, and then you need to create a solution around it. Okay, I overtrade so much because I'm chasing the outcome. My solution to it is stop associating trading with the outcome and build disciplinary actions in order to combat that feeling. Vice versa. And just continue writing out all your individual problems, solutions to them. If you made it to the end of this lecture, let me know if this lecture helped you or what specific things you would like to see from me in the future. I love you guys so much. I hope to see you in the Discord soon. I hope to see change in your life. I love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.